while pursuing a career in singing and acting in California. This talented young woman found herself working 70 hours a week in the real estate industry. Looking for a change that would move her closer to her dreams, she accepted a real estate agent's invitation to look at the ACN opportunity. Blown away by the excitement she witnessed at a presentation, she signed up immediately, figuring she could finance her own singing and acting ambitions through her ACN business. Success did not always come easy as she built her organization, but she learned not to take the no's personally and to use the events and ACN leadership to build her business. In spite of skeptical friends and family, she built a powerful organization almost entirely from cold market. And through ACN, she is working to finish and produce her own album. Today, she serves as an example to other young ACN representatives of the possibilities that are available in this business. Please help us to promote to the position of Regional Vice President, Ms. Marlene Brown.
I only imagine that, I think, 100,000 times. Wow. It's so amazing from day one, seeing these Regional Vice President promotions, sitting in this room going, wow, that would be neat. One day, maybe that could be me. And sitting back there today and it just looking at this and going, this is my RVP promotion. It is crazy. But first off, I have to thank Jesus, because without my Lord and Savior, I wouldn't be here right now. It is all about God. So I want to start by saying, first off, any one of you could have introduced me to this business, because I was introduced cold market. And I didn't know the person for 24 hours before I got started in ACN. I was just so excited, and I was just looking for something. In fact, the morning of my RVP promotion, the morning of when I saw the business, I actually missed the whole presentation. I was late because I was taking my retrofitter's test to become a toilet inspector. Yeah, really glad that didn't work out. But you know, it's been awesome. I am not someone who ran through the ranks of this company by any means at all. It took me 4 months to get to executive team trainer. I wondered time and time again if I could do this, and I got to this point in my business where I just thought I have to stop listening to the voices in my head. I have to stop listening to all the doubts and all the fears and wondering whether or not I can do this, and just put one foot in front of the other. And I'm just a result of that. Nothing more. I'm just an average person who just kept putting one foot in front of the other and one foot in front of the other, and I just didn't stop. And that's the only reason I'm here right now. And that should give all of you a lot of confidence for yourselves. In fact, I really built this business cold market, almost my entire organization. In fact, all the coordinators on my team today came through cold market. And I was getting so much negativity. I mean, I started the business at 21. I look young now, imagine then. And I was getting so much negativity that I had to turn it around. So I started playing a game with myself, and I started thinking, I'm going to shoot for so many no's a day. So then it'd be a positive spin. So then if I got a no, it'd be a good thing. I'd be like, okay, great, I accomplished something that was one of my no's for the day. And so I got on this pattern, and I would shoot for 10 no's a day. And I'll never forget this one time, this guy was like, that sounds great, I'm in, let's do it. And I went, oh, it's not one of my no's. Oh, wait, no, that's what I wanted, that's good. But I had so convinced myself, and because I knew if I got enough no's, eventually the yeses would come, and if I just kept going, it would happen. So 4 months to ETT, 6 months later, I was a team coordinator. And I really have to thank Mike Basutti, who, I don't know where you are, Mike. I love Mike. He's like my big brother, and I couldn't have done this without him. But I have to thank him. There was one time he made a call that changed everything to me, and he may not even remember this. But I was going through my business, I wasn't having a whole lot of success, and the weekly meetings were about 1.5 hours to 2 hours from me because of traffic, and I was working 70 hours a week, and so I had a really busy schedule. And so at the end of the day, I didn't want to go to the meetings, I was tired. And so I remember I lived in an itty-bitty apartment, and across from my apartment was a guy, a bunch of kids my age, a bunch of like 21-year-olds at the time, and they would watch TV and have their fun night. Whatever show was on, they were all into it. They'd always be talking about it. They'd have dinner together, and they would always give me a hard time about my business. You know, Marlene, you haven't made any money. What are you doing? You're always going to meetings. We have so much fun. We've got this show on. You've got to just come hang out with us. So I thought, you know, I'll just go. I'll go and I'll hang out with them. So I did, and we made dinner and we watched whatever show it was. I don't even remember it now. And that was the night. And so next Tuesday rolled around and the weekly meeting happened. I still didn't have any guests, and I thought to myself, well, that was kind of fun. I'm going to go hang out with my friends again, right? Because it's easier not to. You know, it's easy, but it's just as easy not to. So I went over to my friend's house, and I remember it was 7:30, the meeting started, and I look at my phone and I get a call from Mike Basutti, and I'm like, oh, crap. Right? Mike's calling. He knows I'm not there. And I'm like, do I answer it? So I answer it. And he says, Marlene, why aren't you at the meeting? And I'm like, oh, I had a few phone calls to make. I made a few calls, so it was okay. And he said, you really need to be at these meetings. It's so important to your success. And, you know, he built value for it. And I hung up my phone, and I'll never forget this. It was one of those moments where just time stood still. And I looked over to my friends who were hanging out, just so excited about whatever TV show it was, but not excited about anything in their lives. You know, just going day in and day out and complaining all the time, but not willing to do anything about it. And I thought, these are the people I'm following. And then I had someone who just took a vested interest in me, called me, cared enough to call me so I could build a business that could change my life. And I was following these guys. And I drew a line in the sand at that point in time. And I just thought to myself, I made a choice right then and there who I was going to listen to, who I was going to follow, who I was going to surround myself with. And I started going to meeting after meeting. I didn't miss anything after that. And it was amazing because, wow, I started bringing reps. And my business started growing. And can you imagine? I hit ETT. And because I started doing the right things, I started surrounding myself with the right people. And that's so much of this game. But I'll tell you, that's one moment. So thank you, Mike, for that phone call. Because I think the following week I wouldn't have gone. And the week after that I wouldn't have gone. And I would have fallen off the ACN bandwagon. But where this business has had the greatest effect was with my father. When I first got started in the business, my goal was to retire my dad, kind of like Nate just retired his mom. And because my dad was 76 and he was still working. And what happened was I got a call from my mom, and my dad was going into emergency surgery, and they said he had 12 hours to live if he didn't have this surgery. So he went in, he had the surgery, and I remember being on the phone with my brother and my sister that night. And my sister worked for a very successful music publishing company. My brother's very successful in animation. I was the only one at the time that owned my own business. So I was able to pack up, and 24 hours later, I was on a plane home. And my dad was in ICU for 3 weeks straight. And every single day I was there because of this business. And, you know, I maybe didn't get to retire my dad, but that was more I ever could have done for him or myself ever. And all of those moments mean so much to me. I'm such daddy's little girl. And my dad was everything to me. And we were there 3 weeks in ICU. He got to come home for Christmas Eve. And 2 days later, he passed away from a blood clot in our arms. And I remember, and I don't know if my family remembers this, but the last thing my dad said to us was, I'm so glad you're here. And I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for this company. And that's awesome. So if you don't have that choice, if you don't have the ability to just get up at a moment's notice and go be where you need to be with your family when you need to be there, I'm telling you, you've got to grab hold of this like you never have before, because we don't know when those times are going to happen, but they happen. And I wouldn't wish losing a parent on anybody in the world, but it happens. And I'm so thankful I was there for all of that time. And I have the greatest mom in the world. My mom is the most amazing mentor to me. I love her so much. And she's a big reason why I'm here today, because my mom, ever since I was a little girl, raised me to believe in myself. I had pictures, I had mirrors in my room that I hated at the time that said, you're looking at a winner, right? I mean, the cheesiest stuff, and it's so great. It's awesome. She would say, "You can do it. You can be anything you want to be." And Mom, I love you. Thank you for being such a great example.